in 5 parts, which I've written, that's dedicated to the two Michaels for their film The Great British Mortgage Swindle. The fact that their chosen topic shows how much they care enough about the public interest to create such a powerful rendition through film. And it's so right for everyone in these latter days where corruption with the British banks in an egregious partnership with British courts and land registry is evidently turning people's lives upside down from good men and women. It is doing this by unlawfully displacing them and brutally evicting them from their homes for the love of money and power in a deeply troubled nation that has been brainwashed into believing its people are indebted to the banks and forgetting the golden rule of life, where no law exists or supports these abhorrent and violent acts of genocide. It is the ultimate disease of apartheid in the thinking of England's rude and self-serving autocracy, known to be stemming from the much reviled House of Rothschild. The quintet is almost satirical towards many of England's unregulated and unmonitored judges, who are, as we all know, to our huge cost, irresponsibly given full sway and power over people's lives to the extent that many of them now even delude themselves that judges make the law. There is a burlesque caricature in parts lampooning the failings of British courts, which are rigged and let down, and which let down the little man and woman, whilst leaning heavily in favour of society's fat cats, medicine men, lawyers, in brackets, driven by avarice and greed, power trips, and often devoid of human compassion and common sense. It transcends the anger, distress, and deeply felt frustration of injustices hurled at us in my own bitter and protracted experience over the past decade of unhappy dealings with British courts and lawyers, and seeks to transmute the adversity to instead expose the game of legal fraud, with all its trickery, deception, and skullduggery, so that people can recognise that it isn't something to be feared, but rather to renounce and expose to the sunlight of truth by claiming back our sovereign power within each of us. Michael Bonice's inspired message of self-realisation is spot on his blog, and he's also on Facebook. And I believe this is the antidote to surmounting all the painful gnashing of teeth going on in British courts in this century. Notably, even 2,000 years ago, Jesus saw the same separatist patterns that are prevalent now, from people simply disregarding the golden rule, do as you would be done by, casting burdens on others that they do not have to bear themselves, he said, and doing nothing to lift a finger to help them, merely handing people to the lions for a feeding frenzy in British courts. The International Standard Version of the Bible, Jesus said, "How terrible it will be for you experts in the law to, you load people with burdens that are hard to carry, yet you don't even lift a finger to ease those burdens." This quintet poem is a graphic evocation of justice in absentia in British courts, and it also pays special thanks and tribute to Frederick Rodell, who wrote, "Woe unto you lawyers." I'm going to include Rodell's first, because look him up, he's on the internet, and he wrote, "A lusty, gusty, gutsy attack on the law as a curious, antiquated institution, which, through outworn procedures, technical jargon, and queer mummery, enables a group of medicine men to dominate our social and political lives and our businesses to their own gain." How about that? And Frederick Rodell, professor of law at Yale University, wrote, where he basically pays tribute to Percy Bysshe Shelley for his masterpiece called The Masque of Anarchy, which was banned for 30 years. And here are some selected verses. "Ye who suffer woes untold, or to feel or to behold, you lost your country bought and sold, with the price of blood and gold. Let a vast assembly be, and with great solemnity, declare with measured words that ye are, as God made you, free. Let the charged artillery drive till the dead air seems alive, with the clash of clanging wheels and the tramp of horses' heels. Stand ye calm and resolute, like a forest, close and mute, with folded arms and looks which are weapons of unvanquished war. And that slaughter to the nation shall steam up like inspiration, eloquent, oracular, a volcano heard afar. Rise like lions from your slumber, after slumber, in invanquishable number, shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. So I'm going to go to the reprise, and I can read some of the other ones later. And it is, the reprise is the Great British Mortgage Swindle. The swindle of the century is riddled with deceit. Queer mummery, it dominates, then throws you on the street. It's merciless, illegal, dastardly and cruel. It binds you up with files and lies, forgets the golden rule. A mortgage is a death grip set up to deceive. It aims to tie you up in knots in courts where mischief weaves. Huge holes into your bank account, and binding any defence you mount. Their game is to mislead. Elaborate chicanery, it hides the view. The rule of law applies to you. With no disclosure, it must eschew, and sends due process all askew. It sets out to reverse your rights, transfer your asset out of sight, through paperwork set to deceive. So stay alert. Don't believe the falsities that hope you'll trip. An honest foothold never slips. So set aside the fear and dread. Our sovereign power isn't led where even angels fear to tread. It reigns supreme. Arise instead and speak the truth over their heads. Reliant on false instruments you never knew existed, and paperwork you've never seen before, death's grip is iron-fisted. For forgery and falsity go hand in hand to steal your land. Mens rea and actus reus, these two can't build on sand. For when the tide is turned around, it drives deceptions to the ground, removes their props, dismantles lies, and opens up your inner eyes. But now it's time, we all concede, to turn the tables on this greed of banking clowns in partnership with oligarchs whose powerless creed is now imploding and exposing all their claims which have void deeds. They're partners in crime, I hear you say. Oh, where are you, Theresa May? No governance, no principle, no justice here to save the day. So why believe those who deceive, with lawyers who have lost their way? Without a care, they only share contention built on pure foul play. Court officers with feet of clay, they dump their lies on you today. With burdens they don't bear themselves. These unprofessionals are elves. Skullduggery and trickery, it strives to keep the truth at bay. Both in the courtroom and without, they weave such mischief. So hear us shout, show us the money, where's the debt? Burdens of proof you've never met. It's then you know it's time to go into that secret place, most high. Angelic healing will replace the heartfelt inner sigh. A quest for justice, all is set, so every human need is met. We stand in principle, upright and firm, to see all lies retreat and squirm. Before the only real power, self-realization, hour by hour. We're finding out just who we are. We hitch our vision to a star. And rising up against aggression, we vanquish all of the oppression that's built on sand and is illusory. We call to question the fiduciaries who left their roles, abandoned duties. We hold them to account and say, to prison you must go today. If you keep up the vain pretences, commit indictable offences. Say stop before it is too late. Truth's sovereign powers decide your fate. So please awaken, stop this caper, attempting theft by pen and paper. Of properties and homes and children too. They're not commodities for you. The lie of shadow banking being rapidly laid bare. The shadow courts it's partnered with, conspiring to ensnare. The innocent, the vulnerable, the wealthy and oppressed. It's time this game was hijacked, relinquished to the press. Exposing all the tricks being played, we spotlight errors of their ways. And show them we are not afraid. Insanity is but a phase. It cannot last forever. The ties that bind are severed. Illusions broken must retreat. Their methods fail for being effete. For bluff in courts is not a power. It banks on fear and hopes you'll cower. It preys on vulnerability, conceals its all in nullity. It crashes when we recognise that lies in guise which cannot hide are destined to collapse and fail. The simple truth must now prevail. We claim back all our God-given power. Remembering only good is real, for error's ways always conceal that truth is simple. Makes us free, For never were we meant to be in suffering with stress and fear, so free your mind and know how near the answer is. To find release, return it to your inner peace. Remember, only lies will hide and torture us, banking on pride that seeks to silence our inner guide. So recognise we have a choice to give the facts with sacred voice. There is no written law that will allow an interloper to devour your property rights nor take your home. There is no basis, there is no loan. Your signature, it can be shown, has been misused to feign a loan you never even had nor saw. No wonder you are wanting more. You want to see the audit trail, originals which do not fail. Take a deep breath before you panic. Court hearings should not be so manic. So stay forensic, don't be swayed. Stand firm and do not be dismayed. For trickery must bow before the truth which bankers so deplore.